Today we are talking about solving one-step equations. So the subtraction property of equality is used to solve addition equations. If you subtract the same number from each side of an equation, the two sides remain equal. So let's see what that looks like. So here I have number 1, a plus 6 equals 2. Now since I added 6, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. And a equals 2 minus 6 is a negative 4. If I go back and check my work, a negative 4 plus 6 would be 2. And so I know that that is the correct answer. Okay, here we have y plus 3. So I'm going to subtract 3. I'm going to undo that operation from both sides. That cancels out, and y equals a negative 8 minus 3. I'm going to leave the first number and change to its opposite, and I get a negative 11. You've got to remember your integer rules when you're solving these equations. Even though I subtracted 3, remember that when I subtract a negative, I'm actually going to add its opposite. So a negative 11 plus 3 would be a negative 8, so that is my correct answer. Now this one looks a little different. It's just set up a little differently, but it's really the same thing. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And again, remember those integer rules. Negative 5 minus 4 is really negative 5 plus a negative 4. And I get negative 9 is in. And if I check that work, a negative 9 plus 4 would be a negative 5. Okay, so that is addition equations. Let's look at subtraction equations. Addition and subtraction are called inverse operations because they undo each other. For this reason, use the addition property of equality to solve subtraction equations. If you add the same number from each side of an equation, the two sides remain equal. So when we're solving an equation, we are undoing operations. We're using inverse operations to figure out our answer. So here we have x minus 8 equals a negative 3. So since I subtracted 8, I'm going to add 8 to both sides. And a negative 3 plus 8 is 5. 5 minus 8 would be a negative 3. So remember, our goal when we are solving these equations is to get the variable by itself. We want x to be by itself. So we have to take away or add or multiply or divide, do an operation, undo an operation to get the variable by itself. On this one we have b minus 4 equals negative 10. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. That cancels out, and b equals a negative 10 plus 4 is a negative 6. If I go back and check my work, a negative 6 minus 4 would be a negative 10. I'd like for you to try number 3 on your own, and we'll check that in class tomorrow. Okay, multiplication equations. If you divide the same number from each side of an equation, the two sides remain equal. So when we have a multiplication equation, we're going to use division to solve. So I have a negative 4 times n equals 28. Because it's negative 4 times n, I'm going to divide by 4. Remember, we want to get the variable alone, and negative 4 divided by a negative 4 would be a positive 1n, and that's what we're looking for. N equals 28 divided by a negative 4 is a negative 7. And if you check that, a negative 4 times a negative 7 would be 28. Here we have an equation with a fraction as a fraction multiplying the variable. We're still going to do the same thing. We're still going to divide. But remember, when we divide by a fraction, we're actually multiplying by its reciprocal. So when we have a problem like this, all we're going to do is multiply by 3 over 1 on both sides, which is 3. I'm going to multiply by 3. That would cancel out and become a 1. So I have k equals 27. And if you think about it, a third of 27 is 9. So remember, I divided by a fraction. And when you divide by a fraction, you're actually multiplying by its reciprocal. So when you see a problem like this, you're just going to multiply both sides by its reciprocal. Okay, 20 equals 1/5 x. I want you to try this one on your own, pause it, and then come back and we'll check it in just a second. So hopefully you had a chance to pause and try this problem. We have 1/5 x. We need to divide by 1/5, which is the same as multiplying by 5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. 100 equals x. 5 times a fifth is 1. That cancels out. I'm left with 1x. 5 times 20 is 100. And if you take 1/5 of 100, you would get 20. The last thing we're going to look at is division equations. If you multiply the same number from each side of an equation, the two sides remain equal. So here we have a number divided by a negative 4 equals a negative 8. So when we have a division problem, y divided by a negative 4, what we want to do is multiply both sides by the denominator here. So we're going to multiply a negative 4 times both sides. And that would cancel out and be y equals a positive 32. And again, if you check your work, a positive 32 divided by a negative 4 would be a negative 8. Let's look at the next one. M divided by 5 equals a negative 9. Again, I'm going to multiply both sides by the denominator, 5. And then I get m equals a negative 45. So a negative 45 divided by 5 would be a negative 9. Okay, I'd like for you to try number 3 on your own, and we will check this in class tomorrow. Remember to come with any questions you may have, and we'll do more examples tomorrow in class.